Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an executive leader, a CEO, or honestly anyone tasked with steering your organization into the future, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're tackling a massive, kind of invisible dilemma in corporate leadership. We're talking about why frantic, nonstop project activity so often completely fails to create genuine, bottom-line enterprise value. So let's dive right into this and look at how we can actually move beyond mere projects and insights and start governing real structural transformation.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover the illusion of progress, untangle project delivery versus enterprise value, and then expose the 9 silent momentum killers. After that, we'll get into designing clear ownership structures and wrap the whole thing up with engineering true behavioral change. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The illusion of progress.
You know the exact feeling we're talking about here, right? High activity, strong delivery. Your inbox is just absolutely overflowing. Slack is pinging every 3 seconds. Calendars are totally double booked. Teams are sprinting, milestones are being hit, Gantt charts are updated, and everyone is moving at absolute lightning speed. It feels productive. It feels like real momentum. You've got teams successfully delivering on scope and pushing initiatives right across the finish line. But then, you zoom out, and you realize the uncomfortable truth. Limited enterprise impact.
That realization leads to this exact quote, which a CEO actually shared recently. They said, "Rob, our projects are being delivered. Our teams are celebrating, which I love to see, but nothing is actually moving our bottom line." That right there, that brilliantly captures the painful reality hiding right behind your green dashboards. Transformation projects are getting completed left and right, yet the actual transformation stays entirely invisible.
So it really begs the question, why are we dominating possession but losing the match? Governing a transformation purely through project controls is exactly like a football team celebrating their possession stats while completely losing the game. Sure, you had the ball for 70% of the time. Your passes were accurate, your players ran hard, but you still went home with 0 points. Celebrating standard project delivery metrics is completely useless if you're losing the overarching game of value realization. Because, let's be honest, the goal was never simply to complete projects. The goal is to build an organization that operates and performs fundamentally differently.
Section 2. Project delivery versus enterprise value.
Okay, we really need to untangle the profound structural differences between delivering a discrete project and actually governing an enterprise transformation. Now, projects are perfectly designed to deliver scope, hit milestones, manage timelines, and produce predictable outputs. And hey, that discipline absolutely matters. But projects rarely govern the enterprise layer. That enterprise layer, it's all about decision rights, cross-functional orchestration, executive sponsorship alignment, and true value realization. You simply cannot use project logic to solve enterprise governance problems. It's like using a hammer on a screw. They require an entirely different governing architecture. Transformation isn't about just getting work done, it's about rewiring how the entire enterprise creates and captures value.
And when an executive mistakenly uses basic project controls to try and manage a major transformation, the whole organization falls straight into what we call the project-led trap. Teams start fiercely defending their scope rather than adapting to new realities. Any kind of institutional learning, suddenly that's treated as a deviation from the plan. Simply delivering the output entirely replaces actual value creation. And ultimately, the projects close, the teams disband, but the long-term capability completely fails to develop. The dashboards stay beautifully green, the PowerPoint presentations look incredibly impressive, people get their bonuses, but the business itself remains utterly stagnant.
Section 3. 9 silent momentum killers.
Now we are getting to the hidden saboteurs of enterprise value. And you want to know what makes them so incredibly lethal? They do not look like active rebellion at all. They look like dangerous compliance masquerading as sheer professionalism. We call these micro-behaviors. These are tiny, small actions that feel totally reasonable, cautious, and incredibly professional in the moment, but they compound into total momentum loss over time. They stall your transformation precisely because they don't look like resistance. They just feel like due diligence. But make no mistake, they are quietly suffocating everything. Let's break them down.
First up, you got leaders reopening decisions that were already made. It sounds really responsible, right? But it actually erodes organizational commitment. Second is the demand for endless analysis. Asking for just one more round of data, one more technical review. It's basically waiting for perfect clarity that will literally never arrive, while progress just grinds to a halt. Then, saboteur number 3, teams doing the absolute bare minimum required. They follow the new process exactly, but no more, no less. It looks like adoption on paper, but it's really malicious compliance preventing any real progress. And this is usually paired with number 4, delaying everyday decisions, which causes execution across the entire system to just slow to a crawl. And 5th, shifting chatter to side channels. When concerns go underground outside of official forums, leaders completely lose visibility into what people are actually thinking.
Moving on to number 6, an obsessive focus on edge cases. Energy suddenly shifts from solving the main problems to highlighting these rare one-in-a-million scenarios where the new approach might fail. This is quickly followed by Saboteur 7, increasing self-protective documentation. People start meticulously documenting every single email and approval just to protect themselves from future blame, rather than focusing on actual progress. Next is a clear avoidance of ownership regarding any new responsibilities, which just causes initiatives to drift aimlessly. And finally, number 9, quietly reverting to old habits. Legacy tools get used just for now, old workflows mysteriously reappear, and they silently erode the architectural integrity of your entire transformation. Leaders who catch these early don't just move faster, they prevent the silent erosion that completely kills momentum.
Section 4. Designing clear ownership structures.
So how on earth do we fix this? Well, to neutralize these saboteurs, you need real structural authority. You absolutely cannot just hand out flashy new job titles and expect the enterprise to magically transform. Let's actually look at some data, specifically around the AI era. Organizations right now are separating how the enterprise changes from how AI becomes trusted and scaled, and this number is just staggering. 36%. Chief AI officers running centralized AI models are seeing 36% higher ROI on their AI spend compared to those running decentralized ones. This proves unequivocally that clear, centralized accountability directly drives enterprise value. But here's the catch. Accountability requires teeth. 61% of chief AI officers actually control their organization's AI budget. 57% report directly to the CEO or the board. These titles aren't just corporate fashion statements. They exist in serious organizations because titles only work when there's real authority behind them. True enterprise architects possess a clear mandate, direct reporting lines, and actual budgetary control. Without those 3 things, a fancy new title on an old org chart changes absolutely nothing.
And we are seeing the exact same structural shift with transformation in general. Just 2 years ago, 81% of chief transformation officers sat at the executive level. Today, that number has jumped to 95%. Serious organizations are rapidly elevating transformation governance straight to the C-suite. Having a dedicated chief transformation officer lifts the odds of success way more than simply throwing extra budget at the problem, because it separates enterprise change entirely from basic, everyday project management.
Section 5. Engineering true behavioral change.
Okay, so you have the right structures, you know exactly what the saboteurs look like, but how do you actually get your people to change? We have to translate powerful coaching methodologies into an enterprise-wide imperative for leadership follow-through. Look, leaders often confuse satisfying, emotionally intense strategy sessions with the actual uncomfortable work of driving behavioral change. Insight feels incredibly satisfying. You host this massive offsite, the team has a huge emotional breakthrough, everyone leaves feeling lighter and saying, wow, that gave me so much clarity. But behavioral change, that rarely feels satisfying in the moment. The hidden problem here is that leaders act like weak coaches. They generate all this clarity for the team, but then the team goes back and behaves exactly the same way the very next day. Honestly, AI can do emotional validation now. What leaders must do is transition from creating emotional theater to demanding rigorous behavioral follow-through.
So here are the actionable, non-negotiable steps for you as a CEO or executive leader. Step 1. Stop carrying the momentum for the team. If you are the one holding the thread and doing all the heavy lifting in every single meeting, you are the bottleneck. Step 2. Move past the emotional theater. Seriously, stop optimizing for how good the strategy session feels. And step 3. Engineer consistent behavioral change. You have to design the frameworks, set up the governance, and build the daily habits that make the new way of working completely inevitable. You must transition your role from just generating temporary clarity to demanding sustained architectural follow-through.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a really hard look at your organization this week and ask yourself honestly, are your dashboards green while the business barely moves? Because if the answer is yes, you are just managing projects. You aren't governing a transformation. It's time to dismantle that illusion of progress, target those silent micro-behaviors, establish real ownership, and engineer the behavioral change that actually drives true enterprise value. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep challenging the status quo, and I'll catch you next time.